All right. Ba-ba-da-bum, ba-ba-da-bum. All right, getting the stream going. Hooray. All right, so welcome everyone to Wine Shark Wednesday. It is I, your host, the Wine Shark. Happy 2022, everyone. I've missed you over the last couple of weeks. It's been a long end to 2021, and I think we can all agree we're glad to put that behind us. Unfortunately, I got myself a dose of COVID on a hunting trip at the end of the year, so I spent the last of my year in quarantine. That was not a happy holiday season, but my symptoms were very mild. Vaccinations work. Use them. Get vaccinated. Protect yourselves. Be careful. But anyway, it left me lots of time on my hands to think about wine content and all kinds of fun things. So I have been thinking about thus and y'all and what's coming up in 2022 and future plans and doing better than last year and all the things that come to mind when you get reflective about your present and your past. Hey to Dave and Mary up in Minnesota. Hope you guys are doing well and managing all the cold for us because, well, it's not cold enough down here to be real winter at all. So hope you guys are doing great. Anyway, so what's coming up? What's new? Just to give you guys a preview, we are going to be working on finally getting our restaurant-based shows here in the DFW area going here in January. In other words, a restaurant-focused outdoor show, so or not outdoors, but a public show is what I should say, where you come to a three-course dinner with 4 or 5 different wines, hosted by yours truly, but featuring one of our local restaurants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Trying to make arrangements for both here in Plano and Frisco and down in Mansfield and Fort Worth and Dallas proper, and basically trying to make some arrangements for some really cool restaurants to feature either their wines or my wine theme, and getting you guys to come out for an evening of Wine Shark based entertainment out in the wild. We had a great time up at Reunion Tower throughout 2021, and we're very thankful for all the excellent business that they were able to help us bring in, and also to help support them in such an iconic location. But now we're going to switch to trying to do some restaurant-based stuff where you guys can get some great food and some great wine, learn about wine and food pairing, and hopefully promote some of the favorite spots that I have across the Metroplex to get you guys to come dine with me. So that's kind of one of the things I've been working on and really very excited to be part of. So really working towards that. We're going to be talking about the online show schedule. It's something that I've been kind of fumbled over the last couple of months and really unsure about how to proceed forward with some of that. So I'm going to be talking to my Patreons and changing up some of the stuff over there. I still want to do online content, but I want to do it in a fashion that is more easily digestible and broad, that requires a little less scheduling deconfliction for all of us. So we may be doing Zoom, we maybe not. Look to this space, more news for that coming in the future. Other than that, we're looking, of course, to come back to do our Wine Shark Wednesday shows are going to continue on into the ad infinitum kind of way. So I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I really want to hear from you guys about stuff that you want to see. We're looking for new content ideas all the time. Some of it comes from my readings from wine industry sources or some of the wine books that I read, or sometimes it's just a random whim when I'm walking through the grocery store aisle and think of something that goes, hey, we need to address that because people keep asking me. So that's kind of how today's topic came up. And in fact, we're going to be talking about low calorie and low carb wines. How does that work, right? That's something that we've briefly touched on in the past. We've talked a little bit about what makes it tick, but this is a classic area where there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of misinformation, and I want to make sure that folks are conscious and cognizant and not really, really know what your numbers are, know how to think about this properly, and not get suckered in by all the marketing. So, without further ado on that, let's talk about calories in wine. First off, how many calories does a glass of wine have? What should I be expecting for this? If you're at all aware of what your calorie intake is, you're probably pretty familiar with many of the foods or beverages that you consume and what their caloric content is. Of course, many of us are very familiar with seeing FDA food labels on lots of different foods. I think from the times that all I can remember, reading food labels on my breakfast cereal was something you simply did because, well, boy, I need to know how much niacin I should be eating. But regardless of that, we don't generally see FDA food labels on wine, so many people are kind of not really aware of what it is that they're getting. Unlike the beer market, where light beer and low-calorie beer has been a thing for going on 30 years now, wine is really just coming around to the idea that maybe we should be marketing in that same tone. So, to answer the question in the briefest fashion, on average, a glass of dry wine, whether it's red, white, rosé, or otherwise, and I'll talk about why dry is important, has about 120 to 130 calories for a 5-ounce serving. So let's use some comparatives. I often use soda products like Coca-Cola, something that's very widely known, although whether you consume them or not. An average can of 12 ounces of Coca-Cola Original, full strength, high octane, is about 150 calories. Okay. That, by the way, also has about 150 grams per liter of sugar. So that's gonna come back in important in a little bit. So remember that 150 calories, 150 grams per liter. So that's what Coke looks like. A wine is about 5 ounces, so much less than that 12-ounce pouring of Coke, but has almost as many calories, 120 to 130. So that's kind of the ballpark we're dealing with. Now remember, the key things to say here are 5 ounces, or actually I think most of them are usually measured in metric at 150 milliliters, which is about 5 ounces, and dry, meaning how much residual sugar is left in the wine. So we're going to have to address both those things. The fun fact is, most of us don't know what 5 ounces looks like. Sad fact, in several studies that have been done, most people, when they pour a glass of wine, what they think is a glass is not really a serving. This happens a lot, by the way. And if you ever start counting calories in the food and beverage world, you'd be amazed at what serving sizes are supposed to be when you're looking at that little tech sheet on whatever your whatever your food or beverage happens to be. You're like, oh, I'm supposed to eat 15 peanuts? That's the serving? Wow. I've eaten 4 handfuls. I guess my calorie count's off. So wine's the same way. We don't generally understand what a 5-ounce pour looks like. This, by the way, isn't a 5-ounce pour. As far as to my usual knowledge, I didn't measure it. But notice how much of my glass is full and how much of my glass is empty. We've talked about this before, that the wine glass has a lot more space than it does for liquid volume. Meaning, this I know for a fact from this Schatz Wiesel glass that this line right here is about 2 ounces. So about here is a 5-ounce style pour, an official pour, right in this range. Notice there's a lot of headspace still left over in that. That's for aroma capture. It's not so that you can fill it up to here. Although, as I've joked in the past, this is what we refer to as a standard pour, a mommy pour, and an educator pour. But knowing what a 5-ounce pour looks like is an important part of making sure you're counting your calories correctly. So 130 calories per regular standard 5-ounce pour, and do your math and make sure you're pouring correctly. So the next question is, well, of those calories, what in the wine is giving us that calorie count? What are we getting out of the deal, or where does it come from? So the first one, the primary contributor in our carbohydrate residual sugar kind of pattern, is actually alcohol. Ethyl alcohol clocks in at about 7 calories per gram. Now, unfortunately, that's not a very useful number because, again, we don't generally see wines that have a FDA-style label on them, and so the numbers aren't readily available to us. It doesn't say there's this many grams of alcohol in the wine. Instead, we often, and in fact by federal law are required to see here in America, the ABV percentage, or alcohol by volume. And that number for wine ranges on the most commonly between about 7% and 15% ABV, or alcohol by volume. So what does that mean to me, the consumer? Well, rather than trying to do the math and weasel out how many grams per liter and times 7 gallons, it's not important. What you need to know is lower alcohol wines will tend to be lighter in calories. Less is better in this case. Okay, so Wines that tend towards the low end of the spectrum, 7, 8, 9, 10%, those are considered what we in the industry we call low alcohol wines. Those low alcohol wines are going to do better for you calorically than higher alcohol wines. They're 13, 14, 15% alcohol by volume. Unfortunately, many of the wines, if I was to take just your average grocery store aisle and just run down the styles, most of your wine styles, especially here in America, tend to run higher in ABV, therefore being more caloric overall. So when I use that 120 to 130 average, that's what I'm talking about. Dry wines that tend to have high alcohol. You can get away from that and save yourself some calories by staying into the lower ABV range. Next, where the calories come from is the residual sugar left in the wine, the carbohydrates that come out of simple sugars that are left over after fermentation. Now, once again, RS is not often listed on a wine's label, so you don't know how much sugar you're actually getting. Now, dry as a measure of sweetness, dry is a style choice, and dry means lack of residual sugar. But it's not a hard and fast rule. I've seen numbers rating dry wine anywhere from 0 to 5 to 0 to 30 grams per liter of sugar. And there's a reason for that. Number one, I need you to remember that humans aren't very good at discretionary detection of sweetness at very low levels. And when I'm talking about low levels, I'm talking about 0 to under 30 or so grams per liter of sugar. They are undetectably sweet. So despite the fact that one wine might have 5 grams per liter and another one might have 15, you can't really taste the difference in its dryness. You might have a slightly more pleasant mouthfeel, and many wines that are still labeled as dry still have trace amounts of residual sugar because people find them more appealing. But it doesn't taste 3 times more sweet because it's 15 versus 5. Okay, our tongues and our palate just aren't really capable of gauging that level. So understanding that RS is important, but it's also difficult to put a numeric value on, well, especially at the labeling level, at the consumer level. Generally, you have to start trusting the idea of certain styles of wine. So wines that are dry and low that are labeled as dry and low in alcohol by volume are probably where you're going to start first. And lighter styles of wine, when we say lighter, we're meaning light in body, light in alcohol, tend to lead the charge here. Most of the advertised or marketed skinny or light or low calorie or carb friendly or keto friendly wines are giving you a savings of, and they're averaging about 80 to 100 calories per serving. Okay, now remember, per serving is 5 ounces. But remember, that's only about, 40 to 50 grams per liter less than your average wine. So while they may be boldly declaring that they are only 80 to 100 grams per 100 grams, 80 to 100 calories and less than X number of grams per liter of sugar, or less than X ABV, they're not saving you a ton. If you were to have 4 5-ounce servings, a good buzzworthy amount of wine, let's say, you're only saving a couple hundred calories in your overall diet program. So in a practical sense, 200 calories doesn't go a long way. And just remember that you can make up those gains elsewhere. If you want to enjoy a full calorie wine, just leave the schmear off your bagel and you're going to win the fight. Have another, put a little less creamer in your coffee, or skip that, sweet snack in the afternoon, and you can make up for the 200 calories or so that you're going to get there in the middle. So while I appreciate the idea and I love the idea that wine is becoming more transparent in what it is and what's in the bottle, I think that's great. On the flip side, don't be fooled into thinking that light or skinny wines are somehow, magically better, or even more importantly, it's not nearly as drastic of a contrast as you might see between the difference. Let's use our soda example again. 150 calories out of Coke and 0 in a Diet Coke are very different in scale. if you drank 5 Cokes, you got 750 calories involved, whereas if you drank 5 Diet Cokes, you're still at 0. That's a big difference. That's a very different change in your dietary habits. So just know that that is a thing, and you need to be aware of it. So that being said, that the reason for this particular theme was, as I was doing my grocery store browsing, this wonderful little label popped up. Now, the grocery store grab, for those that are not familiar, is our job is to get the best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. Many of us shop at the grocery store either out of convenience or necessity, and there's generally not a lot of help or quality assistance that can help you choose from a wide variety of wines, depending on how well stocked your grocery store is. So with that, I want to make sure that we focus on good labeling to understand what it is we're buying. We want to know what's in the bottle. We want to know where the grapes are grown. We want to know specific flavor words that describe the wine. And we want to know, who's making this wine overall. Okay? So this week's selection for the grocery store grab is Cupcake Lighthearted Pinot Grigio. This is the actual bottle shot that you will see. Nice, attractive, very fun label, but very much focused on its purpose. You'll see that just within this image, you can see that it has its calorie count listed rather than its origin. In other words, it is so important to this wine's marketing that you know how many calories it has, not where the Pinot Grigio is from. That's kind of opposite of the usual tradition that we see within wine labeling. But the thing that they're doing is they are targeting a market that is counting calories and doesn't necessarily care whether their Pinot Grigio is from the Veneto in Italy or in somewhere in California. They don't care because all they want is that calories. Okay, so from a wine perspective, this label is interesting because it's changing up the norm. Also, what you can kind of see if you look at the neck of the bottle, you see that the calorie count is up there, and it actually says 80 calories per 5 ounces. But if you can't do this digitally, but I'm doing it manually here, it has also the ABV and RS listed on the neck of the bottle. It has 8% alcohol by volume per 5 ounces and less than 1 gram of sugar per 5 ounces. So they're giving us all that detail that I said is sometimes, one of those details that's sometimes hard to find. ABV is required, but they're also telling us RS. So they're boldly declaring we are low calorie, low alcohol, low sugar, that's fully dry, and that's why you should make this choice. So this is really cool. Now also, unlike the picture there, this is actually what was in the store. They've even got they've enhanced it. In case you're not reading this tiny text, they've got this little sales slipper on there to show you all of what's going on. Okay, they're branding it, by the way. It's also called Lighthearted, and on this label here, they basically give the required per 5 fluid ounces. Average analysis equals blah 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 and blah. So it's 80 calories, 4 grams of carbs, 0 protein, 0 fat. You start finding fat in your wine, things have got to be really funky. I'm just saying. So that's one of those. They're just trying to give you your dietary requirements. It's not quite the FDA label, but that's pretty interesting. So that's what caught my attention. But let's see. It's given us some information that is good. It's told us, there we go, what's in the bottle. It's Pinot Grigio, but it doesn't tell us where it's from, so that's not so hot. But let's take a look on the back label here. Cupcake, Lighthearted Pinot Grigio. It now says California. So, I'm now doing a California-style Pinot Grigio. That's now, if you know a little bit about wine, that gives you a little information. If it doesn't, now the label has to pick up the slack and do the work. It says, meet Cupcake Lighthearted, our new collection of delicious lower alcohol wines that are bright and bursting with refreshing fruit-forward flavor. With only 80 calories and less than 1 gram of residual of natural sugar. By the way, they put natural sugar in there so that you know that they're not doing any additive sugars, which, again, is an illegal thing, but that's a whole story. So the point is that they want to emphasize that it's natural. And Cupcake Lighthearted brings full flavor with all of life's lighter moments. Now, that's pure joy. Marketing, 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 marketing. Here, though, they're picking up the slack. Bright, refreshing notes of Honeycrisp apples and lemon zest fill the palate and lead to long finish full of stone fruit flavors. Also in bold text, it's vegan, gluten-free, and low sugar. So that label on the back, that's carrying all the weight. It kind of ticks all the boxes. Who makes it, where it's from, what it tastes like, plus their marketing spiel, and all those necessaries. So the real question is, does it fulfill the ticket? No. Is that what we're putting on the label? Now, Cupcake's not a brand I'm going to that I can tell you just in advance that I'm wildly popular of. They're a very wildly popular brand. They are a huge international brand that you can find at any grocery store, and hell, I would even say gas station. So they're definitely on the ultra premium, or the ultra value level or value level at least of wine, not ultra value. Most of their wines price in the $10 range or under. So this one, by the way, at the grocery store label at first was listed at $16, but after your club discount comes to a whole whopping $9.16. So this is a $9 bottle of wine. Okay, we know now that's where we're putting them in our price point kind of mentality. Right? So let's see if this actually comes up and it fits its particular bright, refreshing notes of Honeycrisp, apple, and whatnot. Color-wise, this has that nice pale straw coloration that we would expect out of Pinot Grigio. Clear glass. They move this stuff so fast, they're not worried about light strike. So that's not necessarily a good thing. But what they're doing is, again, that's a marketing trick. They're trying to show you how pale and clear the wine is so that it's a visual attractor, rather than putting it in a darker colored bottle that would help protect against the light strike, UV rays. So, color looks good. Okay. Bright, refreshing notes of Honeycrisp apple. That's what they're telling me. Well, overall, I'm not getting a ton of aroma out of the glass. I've got kind of a slight and gentle hint of citrus, but I'm not getting that more full and sweet kind of Honeycrisp apple note that they're talking about. So I'm not sure quite yet that I agree with that. But lemon zest, they got that part in. So maybe this wine just hasn't opened up yet. Maybe I'm getting temperature seems about right. I mean, I brought this out of the refrigerator right before the show, about 15 minutes. So it's been in the open air for now about 25 minutes. So. Okay, on the palate though, super light. There's almost nothing to this. Very fruit forward. It's front of the mouth. So right up here in the front of our mouths, we're getting that little pop of, I want to say it's almost like a watered down lemonade. It's got the lemon is not attacking the palate, but it's definitely a lemon flavor. So that lemon zest carries through. So I don't know, but this is not when they say fill the palate, light wines unfortunately don't. That's not what they do. That's not what they're there to do. It's the difference between light and full bodied. Fill and full, they're similar for a reason. Okay, so very front of the mouth, back of the mouth, middle of the palate is basically hollow. This wine is very, very just much. It hints on its acidity. It's obviously got no residual sugar because it tells us so boldly on the label. So it's just got basically, it has to lean on its acids to deliver flavor. There's no tannin in this wine because it's a light white wine that spends probably no time in contact with its skins. It's stainless steel fermented, I almost guarantee it. So there's no tannin here to carry structure or flavor either. That's one of the downsides with light wines, especially light whites like this. They have, if you're stripping out their sugar and their alcohol content, you're not giving it that carrier wave for flavor to follow on. So yeah, I mean, not a big nose, not really big in the mouth. But the questions we kind of ask here, is it well executed? Well, it's not, it doesn't have any flaws. It is not a broken wine. It's not a faulty wine. Okay, there's nothing wrong with this wine. Okay, style, is it on style? This is where I would say no. I've had California Pinot Grigios and certainly Italian style Pinot Grigios that really show off the style of that grape a lot more than this. This feels like a diet wine. It feels like you're not getting a full flavor experience. feels restrained. It feels it feels contracted. Okay. Long finish. That one right there is a bold out lie. There is no long finish of stone fruit flavors. There's no peach. There's no apricot. There's no nectarine hanging around here, loitering in my mouth. There's a very small hint of that lemon that lingers, and I could possibly go so far as to say maybe a pear or apple flavor. But when you say long and lingering, the finish is here and gone. By the time I start talking after I've swallowed this wine, the finish is effectively gone. So that's talking it up a little too much, I'm afraid. So is it on style? No. If you're looking for quality Pinot Grigio, this isn't going to fit the bill. Is it worth the price tag? Answer here at $9. What you're paying for is 8% ABV, 80 calories, less than 1 gram per liter of sugar. That's what you're there for. This has less to do with fine wine and understanding and enjoying wine than I want to drink wine, I want to stay in my calorie count, and I want to be my keto friendly and all that other thing. That's what this is. So, an interesting topic. I mean, this is a thing where would I buy and drink this again? No, I've got no. I would rather, as I said, I would rather cut calories somewhere else and have the full 120 Pinot Grigio that has lemon zest and Honeycrisp apple and a long finish, minerality from Alto Adige and Trentino. I mean, I love Pinot Grigio. It has got a great place in my life. This, to quote one of my favorite wine authors, quote Jay McInerney, this is lemon-flavored food lubricant and not much more. But hey, if you're in that calorie counting group, if you are their target market, this is really appealing. And at $9, it's not going to break the bank either. So again, where are you on your wine journey? This might be a great for you. This might be just passive for you and really not worth buying. For me personally, not a thing. For you, might be awesome. So we'll see about that. Anyway, so where does that put us? Well, that puts us right. By the way, we don't have a lot of people hanging out in chat, so not a lot of questions coming. But what about the comments? You guys are going to watch this when I'm not actually live. What are your comments? Are you into low-calorie wine? Is that something that's important to you? Would you rather, like me, trim elsewhere and drink full awesome wine because life's too short to not do so? Or does this kind of thing really help you in your dietary journey so that you can enjoy wine and not feel guilty about it and not have it impact you? So let me know down in the comments below. If you like what we're doing, like and share with a friend. Oh, a question from Mary or David. Would take a 4-ounce pour of real wine and call it even. There you go. Just short yourself a single ounce and call it even. I mean, hey, I used real people numbers earlier. 4 glasses is remember, single serving size. So, but if you're gonna drink that bottle or you're gonna have that glass at dinner, you're right. You're not the 20 calories, 30 calories, 50 calories. Man, that's just so easy to make up in so many ways. Don't short yourself the wine experience, guys. But anyway, as I said, if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're growing slowly but surely, and I love each and every one of you guys for coming here and spending your time with me. I still want and love your participation. Give me those comments. Let me know how things are going and what we can do in the future. If you really like what we're doing, we've got our Patreon, and over at Patreon, the links are down below. We get exclusive content. We're working to change up and really, I owe my Patreons a lot more work. So for all of the things that you guys have been supporting me throughout in 2020, 2021, I really want to kind of get some things in there that are exclusive to that. So exclusive content that is not going to be available on YouTube and is in a condensed format is one of the things I want to do. Plus, of course, a continuation of our wine and food journey over there. A lot more of my recipes and the things that I do when I cook professionally for WineShark shared there so that you guys can enjoy them as well. So join us over on Patreon as well. And until then, until next time then, I have been your WineShark. Keep your calorie count low. Cheers. Lemon flavored food lube. You gotta love it. Good night, y'all.